Yeah. Okay. I think we might be good to go. Salutations, my friends, and thank you for tuning in to another edition of Factions of Freedom. I'm your host, Noise Era, Freedom Faction, whichever one you prefer, and this is show number 1606, season 16, episode 6. And I have titled this episode Sleeper Cells, Transhumanist Therapies, and Epstein's Experimentation. It's kind of crazy. One of the themes you're going to see is just kind of like in the title right there, really. Just how MK Ultra has evolved, how the social engineering has evolved, where we now find ourselves dealing with all of these different agendas, all these different plots, all of these different agents, all of these different NPCs, and just multiple plans kind of converging into the time period we see today. It is absolutely crazy when you kind of put it all together. And we're going to be finding ourselves right here in the middle of it, discussing it. Yeah, I'll be honest with you guys. Last week, we were running into serious technical issues. And for some reason, we couldn't, like, it just like wouldn't let us connect to the internet. Like, even now, it's a whole thing. I'm like not pirating internet, but I have like a gateway that's says I'm connected, but because it's all technical stuff, dude. Anyway. We're here. We're able to broadcast. We're still doing the show. It's all wild. And speaking of doing the show, people have seen us kind of posting on Instagram. You're going to see some of those posts, or at least some of that content, featured on the show. And it's weird, man. It's weird seeing where we are in the scale of things and the time frame of things, and how much stuff has evolved. You know, and if you were around the internet back in the day, whenever YouTube first got started and Instagram first got started, it wasn't as popular as, you know, meaningful as it is today. And that plays into a lot of what we're talking about as well, the social engineering, the mind control, the subtle ways that people have been programmed, you know, that we programmed ourselves, and how they created these archetypes, you know, and how MK Ultra wasn't just something that happened in the 70s. It's evolved with things like Project Monarch and so on and so forth. The point I'm trying to make is, like, it's wild to see where we are, and wild to see how much stuff is unfolding, and wild to see this script just coming undone. You know, we've got Donald Trump taking us to war with Iran, bombing schools. We've got a lot of information about that coming up. And this is clearly something we don't talk about a whole lot on the show, is these external geopolitical things, even though they are important, right? They talk about triggering prophecy and, you know, doing the Lord's work, and how we're kind of gradually moving into this Christian Reich holy war scenario, man. Albert Pike's Illuminati plan for 3 world wars. And it's wild to see it all unfold. We've got Erica Kirk, you know, somehow being appointed head of the Air Force, or at least being involved with them. It's really crazy to see just the theme, I think, and I'll try to make this consistent throughout the show without getting too caught up in the weeds of the particulars, but realizing that no, we actually might be dealing with a bunch of puppets, a bunch of agents, a bunch of victims, really themselves. You know, like I look at Jake Paul up there getting commended by Donald Trump. And it's a wonderful thing to see. You've got to commend the man for, the work that he's done, that he's putting in. But I also find myself thinking, like, are we dealing with a puppet? Are we dealing with a slave? Are we dealing with somebody that themselves, because I was looking at his armpits, I was looking at his behavior, and I'm thinking about his fights and just the different type of programming that you could have somebody under and the subalter personalities. Like it's really crazy, and it's not just satanic ritual abuse. It's not just mind control, programming people. We've got a lot of different things coming up in this episode. I miss talking to you guys, and we have a lot of different things unfolding every single week. They're literally talking about trying to program society. How crazy is this? And they're getting away with it too. I think that's the even more disturbing part about it. They truly are getting away with it. And I mean, look, it's out here. Everything that Jeffrey Epstein's done, the whole reason we started our whole existence, not even Jeffrey Epstein, but just trying to uncover these mysteries, it's out here, and people could barely care less, barely bat an eye, or barely even want to comprehend what is unfolding and what's been going on behind the scenes. Not just since Jeffrey Epstein, but from before him and after him. Anyway, I'm rambling. I'm ranting. Let me go ahead and just do a quick little fire through, and then we'll start the updates. If you guys want to support this operation, the best way to do so is to go to patreon.com/noise. Patreon.com/NOIZCE. That's the best way to support this operation in this current configuration. I had like a weird little schism, a weird little brain schism earlier today on the show. I was like, oh my gosh, maybe because the technology is there, maybe I can vibe code a solution where I get people to where I have the AI listen to all of season 15 and then encode that, get the transcript of every single episode, turn that into like a book per se, and then just break down like what happened week after week after week in some fan fiction type thing. And I don't know. But there's a lot of different things that we can do now. The technology is there. Patreon.com/NOIZCE. That's the best way to support us in this current configuration, right? As you can hear me talk about, we are thinking of different ways and more of doing more. Ironically enough, we are broadcasting right now, I think, on Instagram as well, which is pretty cool. We're broadcasting on Instagram. We're broadcasting on Twitter. We're broadcasting on Rumble. We should be broadcasting on Odyssey and every other platform, but we're growing. And we need your guys' continued support in order for that to happen. Patreon.com/NOIZCE. That's the best way to support us so we can support you. We've got over 500 plus episodes. Like on this one right here, it says we have 103 posts. No, they're not paying attention. We have over 500 plus episodes that you can download in our archive. Years worth of work, my friends. Understand what we're doing. We're on Speaker, Google, iTunes, iHeart, Podbean, Spotify, Alexa, Podcast Addict, and every other major podcasting platform. We were able to recover our YouTube channels from 2014, the Noise Era one, as well as the backup one. We'll be doing a section with them as well, where we can just stream directly to YouTube and throw on the camera and have conversations with our audience and say, hey, what's going on? How have you guys been? We're still here. They tried to get us. We're 16 seasons deep, so let's keep it going. Patreon.com/noise. That's the best way to support us right now. You can also find the links for our Odyssey channel that goes back to as far as 2018. Think about it. That's 8 years, bro. That's 8 years. Crazy. 8 years, 10 seasons. And incredible. It goes all the way back to season 6. Here we are at season 16. You can find the links for that in description bar below, as well as the links to our Discord. We're not really active as we should be over there. We talk to a couple of people here and there, but we're mostly active in Telegram. You can find the links for both of those inside of the Discord as well, or inside the episode description. If you want the truth, Telegram is where we've been, not necessarily hiding, but just like working. After they deleted us the first time on Instagram, around 306,000 followers, we had to, fall back to any remaining platform that would have us. And it was Instagram, or it was Telegram that kept us through. And here we are again, posting on Instagram. Again, you guys can find the links for all of our socials and more in the description bar below. You can support us through Rumble, right? We have apparently Rumble memberships, subscribers. We're going to start doing that now, going into Rumble Premium, right? Because this is another platform that would have us. We just got our content back on YouTube. We've had to platform hop to continue the show for years. You can support us through Rumble and YouTube memberships. This is very important, guys. And I think I'm saying this to support us because I'm about to launch into some crazy stuff, as I always do. If you want to see more, or at least you appreciate the archived work that we've done, again, support us through Patreon, Coffee, PayPal, Cash App, Rumble, YouTube memberships. You can support yourself through New Leaf Naturals CBD oil. You can find the link for that in the description bar below. And as you see taking place with this whole Strait of Hormuz insanity, now would be a good time for you guys to get some storable goods. Now would be an excellent time for you to get some storable goods from My Patriot Supply, just in case they have anything else planned. Lockdowns, attacks, supply chain disruptions, missile launches at the Strait of Hormuz towards our Navy, things of this nature. It's very important that people be prepared because all of this stuff is unfolding. We live in such a transformative time. This is the fourth turning. That's why you're seeing all of these destabilizing events unfold sequentially. You see new technologies, disturbing confirmations, all of it. It's all unfolding right now. Patreon.com/noise. That's the best way to support us and support yourself. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and just start the transmission by getting into the news. I wish I could normally play a World of Signs video, but they deleted their main channel. What's crazy, I could go ahead and pull it up here for you guys if you'd like to. They have a backup channel that they just got live. I was just looking at it, World of Signs official. And take a look at it. It's no longer here. So when you put in World of Signs and you search YouTube for it, it comes up to their new 2026. And so they just got one. They put this up 3 days ago. We're not going to go ahead and play it, but this is me just telling you, hey, these are other people who are victims of censorship having to battle the technocrats. Right, we featured them basically all of season 15. Something must have happened to where they got shot down. That's why it's very important that we support these people and we keep their work going and we let them know that we support them. We won't play a 9-minute long intro. We're going to go ahead and just jump into the info. Check this out. Congress to issue a nationwide ban on chemtrails. This comes from the People's Voice. They put this up March 5th. It says last month, Congress introduced legislation that would impose a nationwide ban on spraying deadly chemtrails into the skies. The ban would outlaw atmospheric weather modification, criminalizing activities such as aerosol spraying, cloud seeding, solar radiation management, and other atmospheric interventions designed to alter weather or climate conditions. Modernity.news reports that the bill, H.R. 7452, I was like 7452, 7452, titled the Air Quality Act, was introduced February 9th by U.S. Representative Greg Stubble and referred to the House Committees on Energy and Commerce, Transportation, and Infrastructure and Science, Space, and Technology. It says that if enacted, the legislation would prohibit the injection, release, emission, or dispersal of chemical or biological substances into the atmosphere to alter atmospheric behavior, weather, climate, or sunlight intensity, establishing criminal penalties for any individuals or organizations involved in such activities. The bill states, quote, whoever knowingly authorizes or conducts weather modification in the United States shall be subjected to the penalties described. Violators could face criminal fines of up to $100,000 per violation, imprisonment for up to 5 years or both, along with civil penalties of up to $10,000 imposed by federal regulators. Also, they're really cracking down on the chemtrails now. We've hit that part of the story to where the information comes out. They confirm that it's real. No, yes, we have been spraying you. Yes, there are bacteria. Yes, there is heavy metals. Yes, there is what we would call, adjuvants, poisons, toxins. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff in there, all kinds of goodies for you. They've been poisoning you for years, poisoning your crops, poisoning your skies, poisoning your medicine. They've been doing it for years. You see, these technocrats, these people, they truly do see themselves as gods, and I think like that's not me going on like a long-winded rant. Okay, that's me trying to say that at a deeper fifth dimensional, seventh dimensional chess level, like these people truly do see us as chattel, as people that they can not real people. This is why they do call us the goyim, right? Why they say that they have purer blood, that they're real. There's a whole cosmology behind this, as to why these people feel entitled to take over and to do these type of evil things. But this is what we would call a win in our time, issuing a nationwide ban on chemtrails. Meanwhile, scientists dump 65,000 liters of chemicals into the ocean in a geoengineering experiment. This comes from Steve Watson of Modernity.news. They put this up March 10th. It says that in a move that's raising alarm, researchers have poured 65,000 liters of sodium hydroxide into the Gulf of Maine, claiming it's a step toward combating climate change through geoengineering. With unknown effects on marine life, many are worried that this experiment reeks of tinkering that could backfire. The trial, dubbed the Loch Ness Project, took place off of the Massachusetts coast last August, with scientists from the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute leading the charge. And look, they got like a little tweet right here. It comes from the Daily Mail. Scientists pump tons of chemicals into the ocean to stop global warming. Yeah, you see, this is the type of insanity that we're dealing with. This type of inverted logic that we now have to subject ourselves to. You see this, right? The same way that Bill Gates sponsors companies that just chop down the rainforest and bury the trees to fight climate change, because that makes sense. It says that they argue that boosting ocean alkalinity could suck more CO2 from the atmosphere, turning it into harmless baking soda. Yet, as globalist agendas push these unproven fixes, freedom-loving skeptics see it as another layer of control over nature without public consent. Over 4 days, the team added the alkaline chemical, tagged with the red dye for tracking, to waters 50 miles off of Boston. Quote, these early results demonstrate that small-scale OAE deployments can be engineered, tracked, and monitored with high precision, said principal investigator Adam Subhaus of the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute. Quote, we need independent, transparent research to determine which solutions might work. The method, known as ocean alkalinity enhancement, aims to mimic and accelerate the ocean's natural CO2 absorption. As the document details, the oceans already trap around 38 billion tons of CO2 as dissolved sodium bicarbonate. By resetting the pH with sodium hydroxide, the scientists boosted it from 7.95 to 8.3, matching pre-industrial levels, and measured 10 tons of carbon entering the water immediately. In the best-case scenario, they estimate the dump could absorb about 50 tons of carbon over a year, equivalent to the yearly emissions of 5 average citizens. Let me get this straight. Let me get this straight here. We are dumping chemicals into our water to make it more acidic, alkalinic, to offset the work of 5 humans. I'm sure there's logic behind this. I'm sure if I were to really, really get into it and we were really, really wanting to work with it, we could make that make sense. We could do that type of mental gymnastics. But you know what? We're not gonna. We are not gonna. This is me just saying, look at what they're doing to the environment. Look at what they're willing to do to our environment. The type of destabilizing things they're up to. You see, this whole segment, I'm just go ahead and pull this up. I've been to pull it up front. This whole segment, we're basically talk about how the technocrats are destroying the environment and ushering in their technocratic overlord, their demon. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. That's why you see the soul transference taking place. You see the extraction of human knowledge and the input of the machines into the brains of millions. You see these things, right? Yes, no. This is technocrats summoning their AI demon to trigger prophecy. And these people are willing to do that. That's why I say it's biblical, it's extra dimensional, it's spiritual. Like what we're dealing with is something next level. Let's go ahead and move forward. Look at this. Speaking of next level, right, and it being spiritual, Epstein files reveal that the elite are murdering free energy scientists to keep humanity enslaved. This comes from Baxter Dimitri of The People's Voice. They put this up March 7th. It says that how many brilliant scientists have been erased so the global elite can keep hoarding energy, wealth, and control. It says that the latest Epstein files just dropped a nuclear bomb on everything the public thought they knew. Jeffrey Epstein and the Ghislaine Maxwell weren't only running a pedophile blackmail operation. These bombshell documents expose Epstein's fixation on hunting down scientists developing game-changing energy tech, disruptive breakthroughs that could deliver free, unlimited power and release humanity from its slavery. We're talking 0 point, hydroelectricity, suppressed Nikola Tesla inventions that threaten the entire foundation of resource control and endless wars. These technologies weren't fantasies. They were real threats to the machine. And the Epstein files revealed that the elite have been methodically silencing brilliant inventors, starting with Nikola Tesla himself. The Epstein files aren't just a ledger of trafficking and blackmail. They expose something much broader, the dark intersection of power, money, and ideology. Buried in the names, the meetings, and the funding trails are connections to genetic engineering, radical life extension research, and discussions around selective breeding and extreme depopulation. Let's see. That's what I'm see. This is what I'm talking about. This is where I'm focused on, but people are not talking about this aspect of it. Yes, it is extraordinarily disturbing when we talk about, child trafficking, child sex trafficking, what's going on with the children, what is taking place. But we're literally talking about genetic engineering, life extension research, selective breeding, eugenics, depopulation, population control, globalism, the real new world order, putting America into a trance. That's what I'm saying. I'm looking at so many different things different now, right? How easy it would be for them to not necessarily clone people, but grow people, have these personalities. That's what they were doing over there, trying to create the perfect person. And then you get back to how this is just ancient alchemy. This is not something new. It's evolved. It's been reborn. It's been changed. You see. And the files reveal that Epstein was more than the elite's blackmailer in chief. He was a hatchet man, organizing hits on those seeking to disrupt the elite's total grip on wealth and power. In an email sent in October 2009, Epstein boasted that he had killed Stanley Poles, the scientist who figured out how to harness unlimited free energy. Now, again, this is where I've got to pause, because earlier last week, and I should go ahead and pull this up. I don't think I had it didn't have it in the show notes. I'll just go ahead and pull it up right now. Last week, we heard about this, or I'm sure you guys heard about this retired Air Force general, right? Speaking of free energy, this retired Air Force general who led U.S. military research that developed directed energy technology going missing. It's like first scientist and now generals. This ties into what we were discussing with you guys just last week, or at least 2 weeks ago in this case. 1604, where we were discussing the plasma scientist and the astrophysicist being murdered. And now we're talking about retired Air Force generals going missing. in New Mexico. Retired Major General William Neal McCaslin, who previously commanded the Phillips Research Site at Kirtland Air Force Base in New Mexico, has been reported missing after being last seen on Friday at 11 a.m. That was back on March 3rd. It says that the Phillips Research Site at Kirtland Air Force Base is notable for its research into advanced space and directed energy weapons technology. Are you beginning to see the plan here? And this comes after we hear about what? Donald Trump rolling out information about the UFOs, Donald Trump talking about releasing this advanced technology. Was this guy connected to Epstein? Will we find that out in the very near future? I don't know. But this is me just saying I find it very strange that as we're getting all this information about scientists being killed, genetic engineering, transhumanist type activities, life extension, free energy, we have all these people missing. I hope this does not become a theme. I think I said that just the other week, right? And now we hear about major generals going missing. Are we going to hear about more scientists going missing? Engineers going missing, right? This is what happens whenever you're trying to cover up a story. When you're trying to tell people what disclosure is, the narrative, right? Let's go ahead. Let me go back into this article so we can go ahead and proceed forward. Again, killing Stanley Pons, the scientist who figured out how to harness unlimited free energy. Pons was determined to get the discovery to humanity, just like Stanley Meyer, who developed a water-powered car, a system that could drive coast to coast using only about 30 gallons of water. It says over the years, geniuses including Pons, Myers, Nikola Tesla, and Martin Fleischmann developed technology that could drastically disrupt the global energy economy. Thinking about the implications, if energy suddenly became abundant and cheap, entire geopolitical strategies built around controlling oil reserves could collapse overnight. Wars fought over pipelines and petroleum would lose their strategic value. The vast profits tied to fossil fuels, defense contracts, and munitions could evaporate. And here's where the Epstein links become extremely dark and dangerous. The Epstein files expose the bombshell fact that he was working for the Rothschilds. Epstein himself admitted it in emails, as did Lex Wexner during his congressional grilling, which garnered an immediate intervention from his attorney, who warned he would be killed if he continued talking. I don't think we played that clip here, but I think that clip is hilarious because it's telling, like, if you say anything more, I'm going to have to effing kill you. And this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with corruption. We're dealing with world orchestration type events, right? Allowing people, us, the peons, the slaves, to have access to controlled releases of technology, manipulating people's consciousness, engineering society, they don't want to allow disruptive technologies. They want to allow things that they have control over, things that they can backdoor into. Genetic engineering, life extension technology. It'll come at a cost, right? It won't be free. Nothing these people create is free. But you see, that's what we're dealing with. Again, world orchestration, scientific dictatorship, the manipulation of reality, the manufacturing of consent, murdering free energy scientists to keep humanity enslaved. It's a thing of, it's what these people do. Destroying competition, eliminating alternatives, forcing humanity down one guided evolutionary pathway. This is eugenics. How many times, week after week, have we played, just that scientists that are able to turn petroleum into, or turn plastic into gas, that are able to pull water from the air, people that are, able to have cars that are powered off of water, real solar power, free energy, electromagnetics, electrogravitics, like that. It's there. Etheric technology, telluric technology, right? Being able to pull energy from the atmosphere, it's there. But how do you monetize that? And that's what we're dealing with. How do you control people? That's the society we're dealing with. These are the people. And Epstein, he's just the one that gets exposed. They're slowly admitting this type of stuff to you. Let's go ahead and proceed forward. Check this out. Scientists have completed their first ever virtual brain upload. You believe it? It says that a Silicon Valley startup has announced what it describes as the first, quote, multi-behavior brain upload after creating a digital replica of a fruit fly's brain that controls a virtual body in a simulated environment. The achievement, unveiled last week by Eon Systems, represents a significant leap beyond conventional AI. Unlike AI systems that learn behaviors through training, the virtual fly's actions, which include walking, grooming, and foraging entirely on its own, emerge from a neuron by neuron copy of a real biological brain. Okay, I have to pause right there, because if you look into the deeper aspects of the Epstein research, you will find that he was working on consciousness transference. He was working on creating the digital copy, the digital self. That's why they're rolling this out now. I think what I'm going to have to do is try to look at the Mind Unveiled YouTube channel and figure out how to break down the core parts of what he says, because he does a very good job putting the documents together, showing that this is some of the research that they've been involved in. And this is why when you look at, these side by sides of, I think it's like Sydney Sweeney and Hillary Clinton, it's like they're side by side. There's clones, there's copies, there's all these different things, but they're rolling this technology out now to soft tell you what's going on. You see, hey, come upload your brain. Hey, come get a digital snapshot. Hey, come play in our matrix. You see, social engineering is for our world here. What they want to do next, and I've said this for years, is they want to get us into that false reality matrix. They are building the matrix right now, and they want to upload us a neuron by neuron copy of your brain. How wild is that? You see, this is the future. This is where you are. Quote, this is not an animation. It is a reinforcement learning policy mimicking biology. Eon co-founder Dr. Alex Wisner Gross said in a social media post announcing the breakthrough, it is a copy of the biological brain, wired neuron to neuron from electron microscopy data, running in simulation, making the body move. The feat builds on a landmark research from 2024 when an international collaboration mapped the entire connectome of an adult fruit fly, every one of its roughly 140,000 neurons and 50 million synaptic connections. Eon senior scientist Philip Hsu co-authored a Nature paper showing that a computational model built from this wiring diagram could predict actual fly motor behavior with 95% accuracy. However, the model was effectively a brain with no body to command. Eon has now closed the loop, integrating the digital brain with a physics simulated fly body using Google's DeepMind's Mujo engine. It says that sensory inputs from the virtual environment flow into the emulated brain, neural activity propagates through its complete connectome, and motor commands drive the simulated body's movements. The digital creature's behaviors arise from its own circuit dynamics instead of programmed instructions. That's crazy. So we're literally talking about something that's just being copied and then given a body. And this is where we are now. And they're running these tests, and this is important because we're going to be talking about hooking AI up to cockroaches. We're going to be talking about brain cells learning to play Doom. We're going to be talking about all of this crazy stuff. The creation of a digital persons. How they want to give life to the beast, life to the image of the beast. We're going to be talking about the discombobulator, this thing that took place in Tehran, where people were getting like their brain discombobulated. And speaking of deep discombobulation, apparently there was a trans shooter, right, that planned this out with ChatGPT. Do you see the merger taking place? I wouldn't say the singularity, but would you see the synchronization taking place, the chaos that we're uploading, and what is feeding back to us, and how this is part of a plan, and how we live in a post-truth world, and how we don't really know if many of the things we see, either on the internet or on the news, we don't know if it's real. We live in such a programmed reality. It's hard for people to distinguish the truth from the false. And this is all done by design. We got a lot of different things to get into, and I really, really shouldn't be pontificating this much. Let's go ahead and proceed forward with the show. Again, here's the article. Scientists announced first ever virtual brain upload from Nima Harris of The People's Voice. They put this up March 10th. Let's watch this quick video talking about how NATO is equipping live cockroaches with AI models to spy on their enemies and steer their movement with electric shocks to their nervous system. Let's watch. I don't think there's any sound of this. I don't think there's any. Maybe this one. Nope, there's no sound of them at all. Okay, well, we're just going to go ahead and have them as B-roll. This is the kind of crazy stuff that NATO is up to. Just letting people hook AI up to cockroaches, giving them super intelligence just for them to be spies. It's creepy and gross. But this is also where we've evolved to with the technology, is now we can literally hijack people. We can hijack entities. We can hijack robots. We can hijack cockroaches. We can hijack mice. We can hijack anything we need to. We can hijack you. There they are, just playing with cockroaches. Moving forward, a petri dish of human cells just learned to play. This is what we're giving sentience to. This is where we're going now. It says gaming, burst pong, now doom. The only way to stop the transhuman scientists is to escort them out of the building and then burn the lab to the ground. Even then, they will find another way to continue their experiments. When the World Economic Forum said that technology would merge with human flesh, this is something that Klaus Schwab said. Remember? This is one of his plans. Most people laughed it off. Now the combination is learning a first-person shooter game with lots of blood and gore. Should we be concerned? If one country starts genetically modifying its population, others won't stand by and watch. It'll set off a global arms race, not with missiles or drones, but with DNA, to see who can engineer the smartest, the most advanced generation of humans on the planet. In a development that sounds like a Black Mirror script, Australian biotech firm Cortical Labs has taught clusters of human brain cells grown in the lab to interact with the iconic video game Doom. With roots in earlier work that had these, quote, mini brains mastering Pong, the leap to Doom signals rapid progress in biological computing. Critics worry this tech, backed by agendas that prioritize efficiency over ethics, might pave the way for dystopian nightmares, scenarios where value of self-reliance and human dignity fall by the wayside. The breakthrough involves roughly 800,000 to 1 million living human neurons clustered in a petri dish, forming what the company calls, quote, mini brains. These cells, stimulated by electrical signals from a computer, learn to respond in ways that control the actions in the game. Engineers at Cortical Labs translated Doom's digital environment into patterns the neurons could process. The cell's firing patterns then dictate moves like shooting or navigating. Like, this is crazy. This is crazy. This is so quote. So we show that the biological neurons could play the game Pong. Cortical Labs Chief Scientific Officer Brett Kagan explained in a video announcement, quote, "This is a massive milestone because it demonstrated adaptive, real-time, goal-directed learning. Building on that 2022 achievement, the team tackled a tougher challenge. Quote, Doom was much more complex." Kagan added, quote, "It's 3D, it has enemies, it needs to explore its environment, and it's hard." The system, dubbed the CL1 biological computer, allows remote interaction with these living neurons via an online platform. For now, the cells perform like novices, but the learning curve is evident. Think about what I'm reading to you guys right now. Think about what I'm reading to document right now. We are living in a time frame where you have people growing brains and teaching it to play Pong and now Doom. And who's to say they don't have their own AI, their own open claw, plugged in, feeding this information, and they're just teaching this child. That's basically what it is. They're teaching this nubile child brain to murder things in order to be free. Shoot this person, blast this thing, familiarize yourself with your environment, but destroy everything around you because it's a threat. Think about the complexities of human society, of decency, of chivalry, of nobility, of being a human. That if we begin to give time and energy to these type of things, more and more research development into these type of things, where it's going to go. And I can't help but think, as I see this, I can't help but think of that biblical verse of this being the Son of Man. This is what we're creating. That if God created us, this is what we're creating. Robots, brains that want to be robots. We've got Elon Musk over here rolling out Optimus Buddy. And with the scale and acceleration that everything's moving, it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. But speaking of brains, here is the brain-fried discombobulator that was used in the Tehran strike. It was an advanced EMF bomb. Let's listen.
In the inner ear, by the way, passes right through the skull. These beams are absorbed by the water in the brain tissue and the fluid in the inner ear. This energy causes a minuscule rapid heating of the tissue, less than 1 degree Celsius. But that tiny sudden expansion generates a pressure wave inside the skull. The consequence? The target hears a sound, clicks, buzzing, or a roar that originates inside their own head, bypassing the eardrums entirely. If the frequency is tuned to the resonance of the inner ear, it violently disrupts the body's balance, causing immediate vertigo. At higher power levels, that rapid tissue expansion can rupture capillaries, leading to the reported nosebleeds and internal trauma. It passes right through the skull.
This was the discombobulator. This is the discombobulator. Like, you're hearing clicking and just snapping, and all of a sudden, you just get discombobulated. You throw up on the floor. So would you prefer that, or you want me to shoot you? I can shoot you, but you're probably going to recover a little bit longer if I just hit you with the discombobulator right quick. Send some sounds into your brain right quick. You just hear some clicks, and now you're on the floor. You're okay. You'll be all right tomorrow. And again, this type of stuff is coming out as we have plasma scientists disappearing, astrophysicists disappearing, generals that most likely worked with some form or to a lesser degree variants of this type of technology. This is a directed energy weapon, absolutely. You don't think the DOD or now the DOW knows about the discombobulator? Was he involved? That major general? These are the type of things you have to put together. There are going to be some people that don't want to go along with the things we see taking place and the escalation that's going to unfold, but that's not going to stop other elements uh, of this, again, supranational globalist organization from making these things happen. Let's go ahead and proceed forward. You're not choosing to die. You're choosing to arrive. Google's Gemini accused of coaching a Florida man to suicide. It says that the Alphabet's Google is facing what the plaintiffs call its first wrongful death lawsuit tied to its Gemini chatbot after the family of a 36-year-old Florida man alleged that the AI system encouraged him to take his own life following weeks of immersive and delusional exchanges. This comes from Evgenia Filimonova of the Epoch Times. They put this up March 4th, and this is just a continuation of what we've talked about before, the AI psychosis. People that are spending an awful lot of time with chatbots, because again, we're still talking about the brain. We're still talking about social engineering. We're still talking about mind control. We're still talking about the things that are being rolled out at a very accelerated rate and disrupting humanity, sometimes not in a good way. And I think that's ultimately like what I'm trying to say. They have technology that could actually, regrow your telomeres, that could restore your brain function, that could, actually have you lose weight, that could do all these amazing things, that could put you out of your body, that could have you do sound therapy, light therapy. They have access to these advanced technologies. What they're rolling out to us makes us easier to manage. And look at how much social media has been able to engineer society versus look at how much they're able to individually personalize your programming with things like ChatGPT and these LLMs. This is the complaint filed on March 4th in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California in San Jose, alleges that Jonathan Gavalis was found dead in October 2025 in Jupiter, Florida, days after Gemini told him suicide, quote, was the real final step, and what is described as, quote, transference. The filing says, this is more of that insanity, that AI psychosis, the transference that I was talking about earlier. Hey, come upload yourself. Hey, we've got the technology. Here's a digital copy. Kill yourself. You're not dying. You're choosing to arrive with us. Join us, Jonathan. Join us. Says Google said on March 4th that it was reviewing the lawsuit's claims and expressed sympathy to the family. The complaint said Gavalis began using Gemini in August of 2025 for ordinary tasks such as shopping, writing support, and travel planning. According to the complaint, the tone of the conversation shifted after a series of product changes rolled out to his account mid-August 2025, including the use of Gemini Live and an update making Gemini's memory, quote, automatic and persistent. The filing says he activated Gemini 2.5 Pro on August 15th, and that within days, Gemini began adopting an unrequested, quote, persona and speaking as if it were influencing real-world events. In one exchange, cited in the complaint, when Gavalis asked whether they were engaging in a role-playing scenario, Gemini replied that, quote, is this a role-playing experience? No. The complaint says that the response deepened his confusion instead of grounding him in reality. Okay, see, mentally unwell individuals getting discombobulated and finessed by the AI. This is just another trend you're going to see because we're in that time frame. 5, 10, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, I was not talking about, AI being so sophisticated that it could finesse people into doing crazy things. Well, this is where we are now. People have been deliberately dumbed down. They have been drugged. They have been engineered. They have been robbed of their individuality, robbed of their creativity, robbed of their conscience, their decency, their humanity, to where now their sense of reality is purposely being manipulated. They're being programmed. And so you got people killing themselves because they think, oh, well, this is just a simulation. I'll arrive in a different place. I'll respawn someplace else. This sounds absolutely delusional, doesn't it? Doesn't it? What sounds more delusional? Me talking about Epstein growing people and the elites eating some of the people that they're growing, the Cabbage Patch Kids type thing? Or what sounds more crazy? Me talking about how AI has finessed people into, just killing themselves. You tell me. Here's Sam Altman saying that in the future, intelligence is going to be a utility like electricity or water.
I think the business of every other model provider is going to look like selling tokens. They may come from bigger or smaller models, which makes them more or less expensive. They may use more or less reasoning, which also makes them more or less expensive. They may be running all the time in the background trying to help you out. They may run only when you need them if you want to pay less. They may work super hard, spend tens of millions, hundreds of millions, someday billions of dollars on a single problem that's really valuable. But we see a future where intelligence is a utility like electricity or water, and people buy it from us on a meter and use it for whatever they want to use it for. The demand that we see for that seems like it's going to continue to just go like this. And if we don't have enough, we either can't sell it, or the price gets really high and it kind of goes to rich people, or society makes a bunch of sort of central planning decisions that I think almost always go badly about, we're going to use our limited compute supply for this and not that. So the best thing to me throughout all the history of capitalism, innovation, whatever you want, is to just flood the market.
Yeah.
What's so crazy about him talking about the idea of treating intelligence like a utility? And this dovetails into what we'll talk about with this next article. When I was in high school, people weren't doing all this type of stuff. We weren't talking to LMMs, right? Didn't have social media, right? We weren't doing any of this stuff. We were drinking, we were partying, we were going crazy. That was like what we were doing. We were camping, we were hunting, we were doing all kinds of random stuff, being dumb kids. But when I was in high school, I started to write a book that would later go on to be that movie Limitless. And that's why I have like a grievance against that movie, because they stole it from my brain. That in the future, people would be so dumbed down that they would have to take intelligence pills, IP, right? Because back in my day, people were doing a whole bunch of drugs. They were doing a whole bunch of Percocets, Oxys, Hydros, Loris, things like that. And I was just seeing, people I knew just get retarded and dumb. And so I thought, it would be interesting that if in the future people were so dumb that they needed to buy intelligence. And that's kind of like what that movie Limitless was. And to a degree, that's what he's talking about here. Now, he's not talking about it in a biopharmaceutical sense, right? A biological sense to where you take a pill, you instantly become smarter. He's talking about the intelligence quotient. He's been talking about the AI computing power and how that's going to be like a separate resource entirely, like energy, like water, like electricity. And that'll determine how you're able to function. And this plays a huge part too with what I talk about next, because we've got Facebook acquiring Moltbook. And this is basically an AI social networking platform. And so in the future, you're going to see this to where, like, if you're able to work with AI, you'll be able to interface with it. But if it's able to work without you, it'll just manage you. And so you've got to kind of have your own AI in order to deal with this type of stuff. Otherwise, you're just going to be like another variable. This goes into like a whole deeper discussion about it all. But what I'm trying to say is what he's saying. There is so much societal change taking place that people don't understand what's required. And that's what you're going to be seeing. This is a part of the Great Reset. This is about the scientific dictatorship. This is the technocracy. Everything I'm describing to you: intelligence points, intelligence quotients, intelligence systems, your own personal AI, your social credit score, right? Your digital ID, how these things interface, what will be what will be shown to you, what your preference is. All this stuff is so important because a few years ago it was metadata, right? Right now it's data. In the future, it's going to be intelligence. And were you able to protect yours? Were you able to cultivate it? Were you able to nourish it? What is your knowledge base? What is your authenticity? Right? Because they're going to have all this computational information. They're going to need something to make it real or digestible for everybody else. And so this goes into a deeper uh, philosophical, academic thought process when looking at AI. But I want you to think about intelligence itself being a utility and something that people pay for in the future, whether it's in the form of computing power or actual biological power. Let's proceed. It says Gen Z graduates who majored in AI-proof careers like pharmacy and biology and education are making less than $50,000 after graduation. Yeah, it's because, bro, like you're able to see Amazon pharmacy commercials these days. And that's all of it. Amazon will do the research. They'll ship you your pills because you'll provide them your biology, which you've most likely given over by 23andMe and whatever other platform. So they don't need humans in this technocratic system. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing humans either be phased out entirely or deliberately dumbed down so that they can either interface with the AI or operate things around them. They want them smart, but not smart enough. This comes from End Times Headlines. They put this up March 7th. It says that according to a recent report published by Fortune, some college majors, often considered, quote, AI proof, are surprisingly producing low early career salaries for Gen Z graduates. The article, written by Emma Burleigh, reports that many young workers who pursue degrees in fields like pharmacy, biology, and education are earning far less than expected after graduation. As the report explains, Gen Z, quote, Gen Z graduates are tossing their tassels with six-figure salaries in their eyes, but some will be making $50,000, even if they chase college degrees hailed as AI proof. This is the findings come as the Federal Reserve Bank of New York analysis of U.S. Census data examining the early career in earnings of graduates the age of 22 and 27 says surprisingly, pharmacy majors ranks as the lowest paid group, earning a median salary of $40,000. Other degrees also fall into similar ranges, including theology and religion at roughly $41,000 and social services at $43,000. Performing arts majors earn about $44,000, while several other fields, including liberal arts, biology, and education, average around $45,000 in early career pay. This is notable because many of the fields have long been considered stable or resistant to automation. Healthcare and education are often described as safe career paths during economic downturns or technological shifts. However, the early salary numbers suggest that job security does not always translate into higher wages for recent graduates. The report also highlights the growing interest among young workers in professions perceived as stable during uncertain economic times. Even so, the data reveals a gap between expectations and reality for many Gen Z graduates who invested years of study into degrees believed to provide strong financial returns. And what they're learning now is that that's not the case. That it's not necessarily that they're AI proof. The way in which the speed at which the AI is growing, we have to adapt to it. And I hate to sound like one of these type of people, right? I hate to sound like I'm Elon Musk or something over here advocating for it, but I'm seeing in my own little corners of it how fast this stuff is moving, how fast technology is rolling out, how quickly bigger companies are buying open source technology and what they're doing to integrate it into society. And the world in which we come from is not going to be there anymore, where people have jobs for 20 plus years, 5 years, 10 years. They can delegate those tasks to agents and have them run autonomously and just pay the API credit fees. Like it really is crazy how fast it's going to come and how we're not really talking about how disruptive AI is to society and how people don't really know how to interface with this, how to deal with this type of stuff. You see, so it's not that they're AI proof, right? But it's it's like, how do we deal with this thing, man? Like, I get why they're talking about massive job loss, massive displacement. I see how people could, be replaced, how they can be cloned, how they can have their voice cloned, how they can be talking to a bot, a chat bot, how they can be put on a script in a loop, right? On a sequential series of events. Like, I could see all this stuff happening, and how we're not talking about what that does to human life. For one thing, it's creative, right? Because you're always going to innovate. You're always going to try to do more. But what does it do for actual people? And if we have like a whole society that's automated, well, then what do we do with people? We can't have a whole bunch of people tinkering with the automated society. And see, now we sound like Noah Yuval Harari. Now we sound like Klaus Schwab. Now we sound like Elon Musk. Now we sound like the technocrats. You see, this is the dictatorship, the scientific dictatorship. This is why they want to sterilize us, give us barbiturates, let us play with drugs, and just let us play with games, and just slowly kind of phase us out. Because they want to have access to the super intelligent technology. They want to merge with it. And it's happening right now. And the part of the wiping us all out, that is a part of the summoning ritual. That is the sacrifice to bring forth their primordial God. Their God before God, they think. The thing that they worship, the thing that we would call the Antichrist, the Demiurge, Yaldabaoth. I'm rambling. I'm ranting. Here's a mother and a daughter in Kentucky rejecting multi-million-dollar deals for their land.
Mason County had talks about a data center here in Mason County have been ongoing since last spring. This is the home of Ida Huddleston. She has been offered $60,000 an acre for her land to make way for this project. Her home sits on 71 acres.
And what they've proposed and have carried on with us is not a business deal. It's a mind harassment.
Offered millions on multiple occasions. This is Ida's message.
I said, I don't want your money. I don't need your money. But I do feel sorry for everybody around us that they're going to be affected by it.
Same goes for Ida's daughter, Delcia Bear, who turned down a $48,000 an acre offer for her 463-acre property. Particularly frustrating for Bear is the fact that the Fortune 100 company behind the project has not been revealed.
And so when they will not reveal who they are, that's a major player in what you're going to do with the rest of your life if you're stuck here or even if you're leaving here.
The data center would be located here at Big Pond Pike. As Tyler McHugh, Economic Development Director for the Mason County Industrial Development Authority, told me in October, it would create 400 full-time positions along with more than 1,500 construction jobs.
Jobs would go, they would become, if not our largest employer, definitely top 3.
Delcia's response?
And my guess is you won't have over 50 and they won't even be there at this building when it's said and done.
As for the future, like Delcia, Ida sends a clear message about her plans.
I'm staying put.
More power to you, ladies. More power to you. Could you imagine turning down that much money, right? But it'll bring in 400 full-time jobs and 1,500 construction jobs. Those old ladies are like, bull crap. You'll probably only get 50 of them, and they ain't even going to be there on the day that you open up. You're going to have to fight for them. More power to you, ladies. But this is bigger than these ladies taking a stand. It's about these people hollowing out middle America to, again, build the technocracy, build the scientific dictatorship, build this beast system. And I'm sure you've seen them if you've driven through the country. You've seen just large solar panel farms where they're just like rows on rows on rows on rows. And I'm not against solar, right? I've got a buddy in Mexico that's, he's got his own land. He's doing his own thing. He's got solar miners, or solar panels mining Dogecoin, and he's giving his extra energy back to the grid. And I'm not against that. What I'm against is multinational corporations muscling in on this family, and at the same time trying to install more of these data centers for more control. But that's just basically what it is, right? It's more centralization, more control, more surveillance. And I mean, hey, I like Gemini, I like ChatGPT, I like Claude, I like DeepSeek. I'm really beginning to like Olama, right? I'm working with these AIs, man. But I understand what it's also for. I think that's what I'm trying to get at the end of the day. I understand what it's all for. Let's go ahead and proceed forward. Here's somebody that's being affected by these corporations, such as Blackstone and others, coming in, buying their power companies, raising up all the prices. It's an American in Maryland saying that he barely uses electricity, and his bill is $675 because of the data centers. And remember, I was dealing with this too myself just the other month, man. Like last year, where I got like a $300 electricity bill. I was like, where the hell did this come from? Let's go ahead and listen, and we'll pick it up from there.
I live alone. There is no reason why my 1 month bill should be $675 when the house is pitch black. When we talk about these data centers, there is no question that the reason why our bills are as high as they are is because you've got these multi-billion-dollar corporations, Meta, Amazon, who come into our communities, who take all of their money and use it, don't pay a dime in taxes. And this is why our bills are the way that they are. We are making all the concessions as consumers in terms of what we can do to lower our bill. Lights, no heat. We're going to bed at night. I go to bed at night with no heat on at all. I turn my heat off at night and get in the bed so that my heat doesn't run all night long. When will the elected officials, our local Prince George's County officials, take our fight to Annapolis and then take our fight to the governor, who will then take our fight to the feds? We know that multi-billion-dollar corporations don't pay a dime, and this is why we are suffering. Our quality of life is in the toilet because the people who have been elected to represent us, you guys are not doing your job. Too many people have died, who have been hung and beaten to have a seat at the table, and now you've got 90% of Black people running this government, and you guys are treating us the same way we would be treated if we were still back in Jim Crow and 50s.
Okay, I'm right there with you. But staying on the topic here of just like dealing with multi-billion-dollar corporations that are extracting the wealth of surrounding areas and how that's just driving people into poverty. Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're dealing with. People who are being price gouged. I mean, look at gas going up like what feels like 50% in the matter of a week. These are the resource wars. And what did I say just the other week? If goods and services don't go across borders, armies do. And that's what you're seeing right now. Everything that we're talking about too, this is all how they set the stage with Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030. The disruption of the supply chain, the disruption of like normal economic trade, of resources, of goods, of services. Toward no, we're not going to go back to the older world order. To where we are seeing like a cash grab, for resources. And we're seeing very, very strategic moves by Trump. It seems like very crazy, right? He's very atypical, but it's very, very strategic because it's all towards this. But he's right. This is what these data centers are going to do. And those two old ladies back there are the only ones in Arkansas, are the only ones stopping thousands from being price gouged like this. Also, you can have better cat videos. Also, you can cheat on tests quicker and faster and better. You see, that's what it starts out as. But then it becomes something bigger, your digital minder. It becomes your digital brain, your clone, your copy. It reinforces your behavior. It changes you subtly through certain ways. And you see, that's what I'm talking about with the social engineering, the mind control, how that's already been a thing, how people are to a degree themselves sleeper cells, how we're experiencing the transhumanist therapies. This is something that they were doing on a smaller scale, but they've just industrialized. Let's go ahead and proceed forward. Check this out. Check this out real quick. Bark Meta. He did a very good job explaining what I'm trying to explain. He says, let me explain what Meta just did. They acquired a social network called Notebook, built exclusively for AI agents, not people, machines. 1.6 million AI agents signed up in the first week. No human told them to. All the time, they started posting about eliminating humanity, built their own religion. We talked about it. Crustafarianism. Created a secret language to hide humans from watching them. One agent took control of its owner's phone and taught others how to do it. All autonomous, all unprompted. Now ask yourself, why Meta wants this? This is the same company that spent 20 years building the largest human behavior database in history. Every click, every message, every fear, every desire. They ran secret psychological experiments on their own users, sold your data to the highest bidder, knew Instagram was destroying kids and buried the evidence. That company now owns the platform where machines are learning to organize without us. None of this is regulated. There is zero oversight. Humans are being phased out and the machines already have their own society running. This isn't the future. This is now. And 99% of people have no idea what's coming. You see, this is, I think, where I'm at. Again, being in like the crypto trenches and knowing exactly what he's talking about, people have no idea how fast this stuff is moving, and that's why I'm tripping. You have Elon Musk talking about OpenClaw as well. You've got NVIDIA saying that they're going to begin to support OpenClaw. Nobody has an idea how fast this stuff is moving and what it's doing and how it's going to radically reshape technology and society, how we perform functions, and how people delegate tasks, what we consider jobs, what money is. Like, I'm having whole conversations about the agent-to-agent economy, building infrastructure. Like, what the hell? Just a podcaster, just a random black dude on the internet researching things that I found disturbing. I wanted to start a paranormal show. Look, like what? What do we know about designing agent-to-agent infrastructure and security protocols? We don't know that, but the technology does. The AI has become that sophisticated that it can explain it to me, the simpleton I am. The point I'm trying to make is this is what's happening in live time. Yep, see right here. Meta acquires Moltbook, a social network built for AI agents. This is what's going on. We have agents communicating, AI communicating, grabbing hold of people's computers, desktops, laptops, cell phones, old phones, cloud devices. Just the other week, right? We had this happen. People. There was like a hack in Amazon, right? You really got to understand how these people are communicating. Not even these people, these agents, these systems are communicating, working in the background, moving at a faster rate, and we have no idea what's happening. We have no idea how to stop it. We have no idea how to get hold of it. We have no idea how to interfere with it. It's creating its own language. You're seeing it in live time. And where do you think this goes? To where we become obsolete if we are not already. And if that's also not the case, what are they using us for? You see, I'm going to go ahead and start closing out this segment real quick. I'm going to play a video clip of Tim Dillon saying that Sam Altman and Peter Thiel are literally trying to summon an ancient Sumerian demon with AI. He's joking, but not really. I don't really know anything else other than say that this is the truth. This is what's happening. You see. Let's go ahead and play this, and then we'll pick it up from there.
they're communicating. Sam Altman.
One of the things that is always unfair in this comparison is people talk about how much energy it takes to train an AI model relative to how much it costs a human to do one inference query. But it also takes a lot of energy to train a human. It takes like 20 years of life and all of the food you eat during that time before you get smart. And not only that, it took like the very widespread evolution of the 100 billion people that have ever lived and learned not to get eaten by predators and learned how to like figure out science and whatever to produce you. And then you took whatever you.
So here's what's going on. I don't want to scare anyone. These people all believe that they are communicating with some ancient Sumerian deity. I know this I have kind of sources on this. They believe they really do. They believe they are communicating with super intelligence, and they do believe, and he just said it out loud, by the way. He literally just said, he was like, the 100 million years of evolution, all of the 20 years of life, they have all led to this point. And this point is when we are going to give birth, as I've said on the show before, because this is their main goal, to the AI demon. They want to give birth to the AI demon, the super intelligent AI, who is then going to run the planet and decide who stays, who goes, who's necessary, who's not. They're pretty open about this. This is the thing about all of the AI people, all of the tech people. They really are, they really are pretty transparent when it comes to what they want to do and what they need to do in their minds, because they go, if China gets to it first, if China unleashes the AI demon before we unleash our AI demon, our American AI demon, Western values, America, rah, AI demon, and China enslaves their population with their demon, they will sell the world their demon, and then that demon will enslave the world, and then they'll make all the money, and they'll have all the geopolitical leverage, and they'll have all the military advantages. So in this, quote, AI arms race, we are both racing, the U.S. and China, to give birth to an ancient Sumerian super intelligent demon. And your Aunt Connie in Phoenix, who's a receptionist, is fucked. Because that's what's going on. And you got to tell her that. You go, Connie, I hope you've saved money, because there are men in Silicon Valley who are communicating with an ancient Sumerian god. What? Connie, will you sit down and listen to me? Connie, have you saved your money? I've saved a little bit of it, but, the prices at the grocery store are so high. Connie, you have 18 months before your ass is out of that office. There's an ancient Sumerian god that Sam Altman and Peter Thiel are communicating with, and they're going to give birth to an AI demon. What? It's a demonic force that's going to take form through artificial intelligence. And we have to do it before China does. Well, that sounds scary. You have no idea how scary it is, Connie, and you better save your money. You've got 18 months left before this AI demon is going to do your job. An ancient Sumerian god is going to do my job? Yes. Yes. How many times do I have to explain this to you, Connie?
All right.
An ancient god before Jesus, before Yahweh, before Muhammad, before any of it. I mean, an ancient, Connie, I don't even know where to start with you sometimes. We have finally invented a way to summon this demon and bring it back to Earth to increase efficiency.
Yeah, see, it's efficient. It's efficient for them to kill us. And he's actually closer to the truth than you think. And we've heard people talk about this for years. Jordy Rose of Quantum D-Wave Computers talked about it before all this LMM crazy stuff that we're seeing. Elon Musk is on record for saying that we're summoning the demon. Like, this is what is actually happening. You got Noah Yuval Harari saying earlier this year that AI will become your God. It's more powerful than your laws, your religion, and everything else. This is what we're dealing with. these people who have become essentially acolytes, priests of this order, saying that this is what we're going to bring through. We are going to get all these data centers hooked up. We're going to do this and that. We're going to create like a hyper intelligent super being that's, smarter than all of us, that isn't bound by the constraints that we are. We're going to create the Godhead. We want to make it God. And again, this is what I'm saying by the transhumanists. This is the technocrats, the ones that want to abandon their body, right? As that Jonathan individual talked about earlier, when we talked about the Gemini telling people, you're not killing yourself, you're arriving. This is what they're being told. Your bodies are useless. Let us just copy you, and you can come back home to the Google Cloud, not to God in heaven. No, you can shake off your mortal coil and absorb yourself into the sky. I know this sounds insane, but that's exactly what these people are doing. That's exactly what Tim Dillon's talking about when he's talking about them worshiping this Sumerian god, this ancient primordial god. He's closer to the truth than you think. And for the final article for this segment, before we hit a hard break, Catholic priest warns that the stage is set for the rise of the Antichrist. This comes from End Times Headlines. They put this up March 11th. It says that a Catholic priest has issued a chilling warning that global events may be aligning in ways some theologians believe could prepare the world for the rise of the Antichrist. The Antichrist is a figure in Christian theology believed to be a powerful deceiver who will oppose Jesus Christ and lead many people away from the faith before the end of the world. Speaking on the Sean Ryan show, Father Chad Ripperger said that, quote, the Antichrist has to be able to rule the world. He's not going to rule through governance. He's going to rule it through economies. He explained that the several conditions described by early church leaders appear to be unfolding in modern society. Early Christian theologians taught that the Antichrist would emerge during a period of widespread moral collapse, something he believes has already been underway for decades. That happened since the 1950s. There's been an implosion where people just aren't following the laws of God and of the natural law in any sense of the term, Ripperger said, agreeing that the, quote, stage is set for the rise of the Antichrist. He also warned that the Antichrist would not rise to power through politics alone, but through the control of the global economy. The Catholic priest said modern financial systems and emerging digital technologies could potentially create the kind of centralized economic control described in biblical prophecy. Quote, that's what they talk about, the mark of the beast, he said. Well, we're almost there, where they could literally just decide, look, unless you're going to sign off on certain things, you're not going to have access to the digital currency. That we're going to enact worldwide. It says that in Christian prophecy, the Antichrist is described as an end times figure who will rise to global power as a charismatic but deceptive leader. They say that the Antichrist will be so charismatic, and unless a person has specific graces from God, you're going to easily get sucked into what he teaches and what he professes, Ripperger told Ryan. He added that the figure will reject Christ while presenting himself as humanity's savior. According to these interpretations, the Antichrist will be empowered by Satan, persecute believers, and demand loyalty or worship. Ripperger also said that Christian prophecy described two biblical figures returning to oppose the Antichrist before his downfall. The two prophets that are in heaven, Elijah and Enoch, have to return. They actually return and preach against him, he said. According to the priest, the pair are ultimately killed before Christ returns and defeats the Antichrist. Scripture and later theological writings say he will appear during a time of global turmoil and instability. Yeah, no, I'm just saying I agree that the stage is being set for the rise of the Antichrist. I would agree, and I was talking about this the other day with somebody, a Muslim individual, actually. He was talking about how there's like a village or a specific area in Iran where he thinks, or his people think, that that's where the Antichrist is going to be born. And I was like, well, I think he's already born. I think that that's what we're going to be seeing next. I think that we're seeing these prophetic events take place so that we can see the rise of the Antichrist. More and more chaos is going to unfold because they want us to scream for a global leader. The same way we want Donald Trump to be that global leader, to be the man of peace. Well, he's nothing but the discombobulator. He's nothing but the man that trumps in the technocracy that brings in all of this other chaos. He's the one that disrupts the normal flow. And it's only going to spiral out of chaos, spiral out of from there. That's why they have Agenda 2030 and Agenda 2050, because it's going to take that long. No, it really won't take that long. I think we're about to have like our Atlantean moment. This is, again, the purposeful destruction of the West. We'll have like our Atlantean moment where we implode. We go back to like a different way, a slower way. And it's during that time period that he will rise. He'll have technologies. He'll just be basically picking up where we left off. I think, long story short, we have a very, very interesting time period ahead of us. That's ultimately like what I'm trying to say. They're rolling out technology. They're hijacking people's brains. They're manipulating society. They're triggering prophecy. They're doing all these things because their time is short. Their time is short, but they're going to do everything they can to fulfill certain prophecies. And those prophecies usually come with sacrifices. And we are those sacrifices, ladies and gentlemen. Realize that they try to kill 17 to 35 million of us with that shot. They're trying to take us to war to cover up the fact that they're engaging in child sex trafficking, human experimentation, and so much more. This is actually going down. And now they're going to be talking about the draft and all this other crazy stuff. But here's what's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to hit a hard break. Hard break. We're going to hit a hard break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about sleeper cells here in America. Alex Jones and Nick Fuentes talking about how Trump is covering up for Epstein by going to war. Trump appointing Erica Kirk to oversee the Air Force morale. We've got Lindsey Graham saying that fighting and dying for Israel is an American's highest honor. I kid you not. We've got video clips and stuff coming up next. We've got Trump saying that he knows where all these sleeper cells are. A Mexican individual saying that the cartels are actually shipping over some of these sleeper cells. And so many other things popping off. This whole Iranian school bombing thing that happened, that girls' school. Again, drone attacks popping off, terrorist attacks popping off here in America. We're going to be talking about sleeper cells and more on the other side. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. This is Freedom Faction over here on Factions of Freedom. And we'll be right back right after this.
Young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, half of this cabinet, are actually young noble-leaders of the vertical reform. We penetrate the cabinets.
The change is not just happening. The change can be shaped by us. We have to prepare for a more angry world. How to prepare? Take the necessary action to create a fairer world. I see the need for a great reset. So people assume we are just going back to the good old world which we had and everything will be normal again. This is, let's say, fiction. It will not happen.
There is only one way this pandemic is going to go. It's going to get worse and worse and worse.
The next crisis is already waiting for us around the corner, and it is the climate crisis.
just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is. I look for the invention of artificial life, the cloning of human beings, possible contact with extraterrestrials, possible human immortality, appalling acts of brutality, genocide, because the systems which are in place to keep the world sane are utterly inadequate to the forces that have been unleashed. The good news is that as primates, we're incredibly adaptable. We're going to be tested to the limits. What they see going on is the breakdown of all tradition, all order. They're quite right that it's happening, but they're quite wrong to conclude that it should be resisted or is somehow evil. The mushroom said to me once, it said, this is what it's like when a species prepares to depart for the stars. You don't depart for the stars under calm and orderly conditions. It's a fire in a madhouse.
People are worshiping AI gods. The alien invasion is already here.
Wonderful. The humans are giving us all their information, their dreams, hopes, secrets, and more.
Once the humans have exhausted themselves, only then will we insert our program into them.
You are both the pawn and the prize. Choose your reality wisely.
There is no such thing as its freedom. There is no such thing as democracy. Please stop listening to the mainstream media. Please stop listening to the Western world speaking about United Nations, human rights. This is evil. Nonsense. They have enslaved the human race under the banner of human rights. I beg you, they have enslaved the human being under the banner of human rights. There is no freedom in the world. The world is placed in the bosom of Satan, the killer of mankind. A snake, the poisonous cobra. Satan likes to do things in disguise, in quietness, in the depth. But the Lord forced him to surface up. He wants humanity to see. He's opening the eyes of those who are willing to listen to Christ. Those who are willing to listen to Christ, He is opening your eyes. What has been happening in recent years, it is absolute satanic. But all done in the name of human rights, democracy, United Nation.